Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wildin' in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gon' be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring, yeah.
Vinci.
Yeah, they just wanna see me in the grave. Come out the law in the rave. Oh no, I can't wait. You can read what you sow in the day. I was down, now I'm up to the plate. Got a couple hits, cause you know I cannot play. We gon' win it no matter what the shape. Got the stick, we gon' bring it out the safe. I was down below the commas. I put dollars on my head like I don't wanna. Yeah, I'm proud of what I did, I'm gonna come up. Yeah, you left me on red, so don't try to run it. Want no smoke, then come in peace. Flow so foreign overseas. Got them praying, they like please. They want cheddar, not no cheese. Undefined, they don't get it, it's amazing. I was down bad in the basement. I would pray to God for a placement. I was never patient, I was always racing. Got me on the drive, that's a flagrant. Little boy, tell me what you chasing. We gotta do better, gotta be clever, gotta love more, that's a statement. Yeah, they just wanna see me in the grave. Come out the law in the rave. Oh no, I can't wait. You can read what you sow in the day. I was down, now I'm up to the plate. Got a couple hits, cause you know I cannot play. We gon' win it no matter what the shape. Got the stick, we gon' bring it out the safe.
It's silver step, yeah, I was just inside the grave. When I resurrected in like 3 whole days. Put up on my car, I had to sneak the A's. I might take a tenant because we the wave. Walk around the house, got drip on anyway. They gon' eat it up like it's a dinner day. Seen a Lambo, claimed it on the interstate. Claim it's nothing when it's Jesus in the stage. On the front and silver, it's the game. I feel my calendar, I'm losing track of all the days. Call me water boy, and I was giving them a name. I was sitting on the bench, they had to put me in the game. I be from the data, they said ice in my veins. Got a shit of guts, but I'll never be ashamed. Pushing on the break, the when I know it's gonna be great. It's time to celebrate you when your family gon' hate.
They just wanna see me in the grave. Come out the law in the rave. Oh no, I can't wait. You can read what you sow in the day. I was down, now I'm up to the plate. Got a couple hits, cause you know I cannot play. We gon' win it no matter what the shape. Got the stick, we gon' bring it out. And I'm back like I never left. They just treating every song like another check. I'm pulling up to every court and I'm calling next. They try to end me, now I'm stopping my foot on their neck. You'll be surprised what they do for attention. God looks into your heart and intentions. I see you judging in all of my mentions. I'm out the grave, I thank God for redemption. Now I'm taking it a step at a time. My future is bright like I turned on the lights. It's crazy how I see them right through the blind. I used to explain how I'm catching these flights. Don't hit my DMs with arrogance. I gotta do it with excellence. I'm reaching the needy, it's evident. And they still in the room with the elephant. Wow. Yeah, they just wanna see me in the grave. Come out the law in the rave. Oh no, I can't wait. You can read what you sow in the day. I was down, now I'm up to the plate. Got a couple hits, cause you know I cannot play. We gon' win it no matter what the shape. Got the stick, we gon' bring it out the safe.
Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wildin' in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gon' be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring, yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV and another live Royal Rebounds podcast with Calvin and Barry. On today's episode, we are breaking down the Sacramento Kings 112-99 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans this evening. We're also going to brush a little bit onto yesterday's loss on the Utah Jazz and talk about a couple other interesting things in the Kings community. If you are a Kings fan, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. If you'd like to join the Royal family, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also make sure you hit that notification cowbell down below when you'd like to find out when Calvin and I put out a new video. Welcome, everybody. So, Cal, what'd you think of the game this evening?
Oh, I'm fired up.
Yeah?
I'm fired up. The Kings finally did it. They put together a full 48 minutes. They played great all night. They got great contributions from everybody that played tonight. I got my Tyrese Haliburton jersey on today, and I'm going shirtless because that game made me want to suit up and play. It was really exciting to watch. You know, as a kid, I used to not even be able to get through an entire basketball game watching because it would just make me want to go play so bad. And I got that feeling tonight in the second half, in the fourth quarter specifically. So
Awesome. Yeah, the Kings started out slow in this game, which is expected coming off a back-to-back and heading home. The Pelicans were also on a back-to-back.
Yep.
No Brandon Ingram tonight, no Zion Williamson. The Kings, they kept it close, and then they blew it open in the fourth quarter with a 14-0 run. We saw De'Aaron Fox come back to life. We saw another great game by Harrison Barnes, an awesome performance by Tyrese Haliburton, highlighted by 4 steals and 2 blocks. Some great team defense. We saw Rashaan Holmes get ejected late in the third quarter. And then we also saw some big numbers coming off the bench. Alex Len, Tristan Thompson, Davion Mitchell all played well. But who is your player of the game?
Got to go with Tyrese tonight. I was really happy to see De'Aaron Fox have a bounce back game. I thought he played very within himself, took good shots again, was very efficient and smart offensively. Only 1 turnover tonight too, which is big.
Yep.
Definitely have to mention that. And Harrison Barnes again, finally got his stroke back from outside, 5 of 8 from distance, 5 of 8 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3 tonight. But Tyrese was the man, I felt like, from the very beginning. He had 3 steals in the first half. As you mentioned, finished with 4 steals and 2 blocks. But his energy was really, really critical, I think, for them all night long. He was aggressive. He looks really, really comfortable out there. I think the game is finally slowing down for him a little bit. And 20 points. I mean, he was the man tonight for them.
Yeah, great game for him. He shot decent. He got to the line 8 times, 8 free throws, made 7 out of those 8. As you mentioned, played great defense. He also had the ball in his hand a lot more tonight. It seemed like he was comfortable bringing the ball up the court, making some plays. It's interesting considering we talked about the 2-man game between him and Rashaan Holmes being so polished. Without Rashaan Holmes being ejected, him being on the bench, Alex Len came out there and he played huge, and it didn't seem to have a drop-off for Tyrese at all.
No, not at all. I think he is, like I said, getting very comfortable. He's getting the reps in, I'm sure, in practice with all of these big guys, whether it's Rashaan or Alex Len or Tristan Thompson. He plays, a lot of minutes now. He's probably averaging well over 30 minutes a game, I think. I don't know the exact number, but he played 37 minutes tonight, so he's going to be on the floor with all 3 of those guys in different spots. And really, when you think about it, all 3 of those guys, Rashaan Holmes, Alex Len, and Tristan Thompson, they play pretty similar styles. So it's easy for a guy like Tyrese, who's really good in the pick and roll, to adjust between all 3 of those guys because they're gonna look for the same things offensively.
You want to jump here into the box score?
Sure. Well, we kind of already touched on it a little bit. We really went through Tyrese's stat line, so I won't mention that again. The bench was phenomenal once again for Sacramento. I'm going to keep bringing it up. This is, in my opinion, the best part of this team so far this season. The bench has not only kept them in games, tonight it helped them blow the game open. It's helped them win games. Buddy Hield did not shoot very well tonight. I'm sure we'll talk about him more. There were a few shots that I was not okay with from him tonight, but I loved what I saw from Buddy on defense.
Yes.
So when he's playing like that, I will live with the chuck it from 35 feet early in the shot clock. He just didn't shoot well tonight, but he still ended up with 11 points, and he played really, really hard. Davion Mitchell, another really, really great game all around from him. Back-to-back games now with double-digit scoring. He finished with 12 tonight. He was a plus 12 in the differential. And Alex Len was huge for them off the bench. Really, really came in and didn't miss a beat after Rashaan got ejected. 12 points as well, 6 of 9 shooting. And Tristan Thompson only played 8 minutes, probably wouldn't have played a single minute if Rashaan Holmes doesn't get ejected. So he came in and was still ready to go when they called his number.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Buddy Hield tonight. He didn't do it all offensively. I know the Kings have weighed on him heavily or actually needed his scoring late in games especially to keep them in games. But, only 11 points tonight. He played great on the defensive end of the floor. He only had 1 steal, so it doesn't all show up in the box score.
Right.
But he just hustled up and down the floor. He seemed to be in the right position at all times. He didn't gamble a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest part, 0 turnovers for him tonight.
Yep.
0 turnovers.
And he put the ball on the floor a lot, too. I just can't say enough about how Buddy Hield works out there. All you kids out there, if you are watching and you want to be a great shooter, obviously you got to shoot. You have to get the reps up. You have to practice. But I really want people to pay attention to the way Buddy Hield moves without the ball. All of the greatest shooters of all time, they move phenomenally well without the ball. They know how to relocate off their own pass, off another player's pass. They never stop moving. Yep. Because once you become that great of a shooter, you can't just – teams are going to key in on you. You can't just stand there and expect to get open shots or even off the screen because they're going to trap you. You have to constantly be moving, and he does that better or just as good. You know, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are also pretty damn good at it, but he does that just as well as both of them, and it really shows in his work. And he continued that movement on defense tonight. That's why he was so good for them. His rotations were great. His closeouts were great. He moved his feet when he was on ball. I was really impressed. You know, it takes a lot for me to say that I'm really impressed with somebody's defense, especially a guy like Buddy Hield that we've been critical about defense in the past. But he was really, really good tonight.
Yeah, he was. And as you mentioned, constantly being moving in offense is such a powerful thing because the defender is chasing you and they're playing from behind and you're in control. And that messes them up on offense. So if you can continue to move on defense too, they're playing catch up the whole game. Right. So I loved
it also makes it harder to play defense because I don't know how we could probably track the number of miles that he moved on the court tonight. I'd be willing to bet that it was more than or the same as any other player that played tonight. Yep. So that's hard to do if you're playing a lot of minutes. He played 23 minutes tonight, which is, well below probably what he's used to doing for his career. So maybe if he continues to play in this role off the bench as the sixth man, they can play him in that 20 to 26-minute range somewhere in there, and it helps keep him a little fresh so that he can keep that energy up on the defensive end throughout the whole course of the game.
Yep, 100%. Looks like in the chat everyone wants to talk about Marvin Bagley, another
man
DNP for him.
Honestly, that saddens me. The Kings played so good tonight. I mean, they held the Pelicans to 99 points. They withstood an early three-point barrage. It looked like it was kind of starting off flat again in the beginning there, but they pulled it together. This was the most complete game that the Kings have played all year long. They got production from everybody. I get it. Marvin Bagley, when Rashaan Holmes got ejected, I actually said to our videographer, Vinny, I was like, we're probably going to see Marvin Bagley tonight. We did not, though.
Nope.
We did not.
Nope. Unfortunately, we did not see him again. Any new news on him?
I don't have any. I mean, I don't really think we're going to hear – I'd be very surprised to hear anything because what could you hear at this point? There's no injury news that's coming out.
Yep.
We know for a fact that Luke Walton does not see him or picture him into this rotation. He said it before the first game of the season. And maybe at that moment we all kind of didn't believe him, but I think you got to believe him at this point. The only way Marvin's getting in the game is if people foul out or there's an injury.
Yep.
Something like that. So that's just the state of affairs right now with Marvin and the Kings.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's gotten this far, but hey, I think it'll be resolved by the end of the season.
We'll see. Well, it should definitely be resolved by
next season. By next season, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of people fouling out, let's talk about Rashaan Holmes. 16 minutes for him tonight. He was ejected. Didn't foul out. He was ejected.
He was close to fouling out, though.
Yeah, ejected in the third quarter. 12 points for him, 6 rebounds, an assist. Tell me about his game tonight. I want to hear if you feel like he deserved an ejection for throwing the headband.
No, I don't feel he deserved it. However, I understand why in that moment. I thought I was very surprised that they quickly double-teed him. Usually in those situations, you'll see a guy get one technical foul and the refs will give him a chance to cool off. But the throwing the headband into the stands, I guess that was the final straw. You know, it's tough. Rashaan obviously is a very emotional player, and there's a lot of good that comes with that. I certainly sympathize with him. I used to be an extremely emotional player. Quick side story: I played a preseason exhibition game in Sacramento at Florin High School once. I think it was my junior or senior year. And I turn the ball over. I get taken out of the game. It's early in the first half, and I'm furious at myself. Little backstory, I have a black belt in Kempo martial arts, so I got taken out of the game. I walked down the sideline, and I don't know what came over me. I just did it without even thinking. I ran and did a flying sidekick into the wall of the gym. You could hear it, and thankfully there weren't that many people there because it was an exhibition game, so not a lot of people saw it. But because of that, you could just hear this boom, thud echo throughout the gym. I was furious, and I did not play for the rest of the game because of that. Not because I got kicked out of the game by the officials, but our coach didn't put me back in. So I totally, sympathize, like I said, with Rashaan for getting emotionally caught up. But that was a really, really big – could have been a really big turn of events there for the Kings. He needs to kind of learn or find a way to somehow trim down that emotion. Maybe it's like we saw him earlier this year where he ran into the tunnel so that nobody could see him, and he probably was bashing chairs and doing all sorts of stuff off camera. But, thankfully the Kings were able to put together a big fourth quarter and they didn't need him. But that could have really hurt them. So,
moral of the story, don't fuck with Calvin. Especially when he's angry.
No, that story wasn't meant to put that vibe out, but just don't do stupid stuff on the basketball court is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, they could do like what the Pelicans did when they traded for Boogie Cousins. They made like a cage for him underneath the stands where he could cool off.
Yep.
That's funny. Yeah, I feel bad for Rashaan. He's been playing really good lately.
Game at that point.
Yeah.
So it was a very close game. Could have been really, really big.
Rashaan's been playing really well. And the calls have been going against him all season long, so I can definitely tell why he's frustrated. So the reason I bring this up is Kings don't have a lot of bigs, or at least in the starting lineup. They normally play Alex Len. They play a little bit of Tristan Thompson. That's pretty much it as far as big men.
Yeah.
We don't see Marvin Bagley play. We don't see Metu play. We don't see Jones play. So we saw 21 big minutes for Alex Len tonight, 12 points, 3 blocks for him. He was all over the court. And then 8 minutes for Tristan Thompson. It's funny. No rebounds, no points. All he had was a block and a foul. Yep. So what did you like that you saw out of Len and Thompson? And were you worried when you saw Rashaan get ejected? Do you think that could have
actually? I was really,
sent
really
the Kings
worried.
over the top?
Yes, because right after that, the Pelicans went on a little run themselves, and they started to hit some threes, and I started to feel as if that could have been a big turning point in the game for Sacramento. But my hat goes off to Alex Len. He really, really played great. Even before Rashaan Holmes got ejected, when he came in the first half off the bench, played really well. His defense on Valanciunas was great tonight. He was a physical body, but I loved most from him how he was actually taking his defense out to the three-point line. He was switching on guys off the pick and roll. He was denying the initial three-point shot. He was rotating well outside away from the basket, which is not easy to do for a guy his size. He really altered a lot of shots, had 3 blocks. He played fantastic for them tonight and really made up for the fact that they didn't have Rashaan down the stretch.
Yeah, definitely. To everybody in the chat that's talking about the stream lagging, I apologize. I'm working on it right now. It should be resolved shortly. But you guys are just going to have to sit back and enjoy the show, and it'll catch up when it does. Also, if you're just joining the channel, welcome to Royal Rebounds TV, your favorite Sacramento Kings YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button if you're a Kings fan, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more awesome Kings content. Calvin and I will be we will be releasing episode 3 of the Royal Report Friday morning, and then we'll be going live Friday night after the game against Charlotte. Today we are breaking down the Kings' 112-99 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans, making them 2-0 on the Pelicans this season and winning their first home game of the year.
About time.
And if you want to make the playoffs, you got to protect the home court. That is a fact. All right, so I think it's time to talk about De'Aaron Fox. There's been a lot of Kings fans that have been I guess critical is a soft way to say it, of him.
They've been very critical.
I even see people in the chat here saying, can we say Fox is the Kings' 3rd or 4th best player now?
Wow.
So, Kyle, you want to answer that question and then go right into how you felt about De'Aaron Fox tonight?
There's absolutely no way that he's the 3rd or 4th best player on this team. I don't care how poorly he started the year. What his numbers are right now, just from a pure basketball standpoint, that's a ludicrous statement. It really, really is. He didn't fix everything in one night. They were really balanced scoring-wise tonight.
Yep.
Everybody shot pretty well. They all got in the paint. They blew them out inside tonight. 54 points in the paint for a small ball team. That's great. Davion Mitchell was in the paint a lot. Tyrese was in the paint a lot. But still, 19 points, 5 assists. He was 8 of 14 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. You know, if he puts up those shooting numbers every night and he can get a few more free throw attempts, he only took 2 free throws today.
Yep.
So if he could get that up to 6, 7 free throw attempts, we're looking at a 25-point-a-night De'Aaron Fox. And that's what everybody wants out of him, right? So he's real close. All it takes is one of these games or one quarter. Again, the shot selection was great tonight. He was a lot mid-range, a lot of open free throw line extended shots, and he knocked them down tonight. And it's gonna happen. He's gonna hit those with more consistency as the year goes on. He's too good of a player not to.
Yeah, 5 assists tonight and only 1 turnover.
Yeah,
I know this year he was basically building on a career high in turnovers this year. I think that's the biggest aspect of his game that he needed to work on, just because turnovers are so deflating. Throwing a bad pass, you know, it just turns into easy offense for the other team. Then you start getting in your head, and that doesn't help anything at all. So
Kings as a team tonight took care of the ball really well. 8 turnovers total. Anytime you can have under 10 for a game, that's a great night.
yes. And they created some turnovers. They had 8 steals tonight.
Yes, forced 17 turnovers.
Or sorry, 7 steals tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, 8 steals tonight. So, yeah, great game by the Kings. 17 forced turnovers. They only had 8 themselves. So that's a recipe for success.
Yes, that's great.
Also, holding the Pelicans only 12 points in the 4th quarter after allowing 35 in the 3rd.
Yeah. Yep.
So that is
another
huge.
high-scoring 3rd quarter. But, yeah, they really buckled down defensively in the 4th.
And the Kings they held them to only 99 points tonight, which is huge. I think that's the first team this year they've held under 100. Oh, sorry. Other than that, I guess that's a preseason game against the Trailblazers.
Yes.
But first regular season game, holding a team under 100 points.
Yep.
It helps when there's no Brandon Ingram. It helps when there's no Zion Williamson.
The Pelicans were a little depleted tonight, but that is one thing that I do want to say about the Pelicans as a team. Their record does not say that they're a very good team, but they've got a lot of nice young players on this team, and for being as depleted as they've been to start the season, they've been actually very competitive.
Yep.
They play really hard. Willie Green is a really nice young head coach in this league, I think. So they're, my hat goes off to them for continuing to play hard, even though they've got all these guys out. Their record is pretty terrible. They've gotten off to a horrible start. They still bring it every night.
Yeah, and I think they were talking about how Willie Green played with
Maurice Harkless for 1 year
in Orlando.
Yeah.
Yes. Big connection there. And another, slow offensive start for Maurice Harkless tonight. Only 3 points, but he played great on the defensive end of the floor. 32 minutes, whatever it takes to win games. I still think that they could potentially get a little bit more out of this 4 position, but I think Mo's doing a wonderful job. All right, so next I want to talk about your player of the game, Tyrese Haliburton. I think this is by far his best game of the season. His coming out party. It's funny, watching his interview after the game, he says, I wouldn't say I was more comfortable tonight. And then he keeps talking and elaborating. And then at the end he goes, if it was my best game of the season, I guess you could say I was more comfortable out there. So he doesn't know, but I think he definitely looks way more comfortable, has the ball more in his hands. 7 assists tonight, only 1 turnover, 20 points. He shot the ball well. He got to the free throw line. He played great defense, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Amazing game by Tyrese Haliburton. If he can do this more often, the Kings are going to win a lot more games.
Oh, yeah, they will. He, like you said, he played fantastic tonight, and I loved his aggressiveness tonight. He's been aggressive in other games this year, but he had the pedal to the metal in this game. He was pushing the ball down court, trying to get easy transition buckets. He really, really ran the floor well tonight as the primary ball handler. Made great decisions, 7 more assists, 0 turnovers. It was an all-around performance for him tonight.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, 0 turnovers.
He started off this way right from the beginning of the game. He had those 3 quick steals in the first half. He really ignited this team, I think, tonight.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing that I think that was a big contribution to this game was the defense on Valanciunas. Valanciunas killed the Kings in the prior game, 24 points, 13 rebounds. He was hitting threes. He was doing everything. The Kings held him to 14 points tonight, which I think is huge. Did you see anything out there that you thought that they were doing differently on him?
I really just thought it was the communication and the total movement of all 5 guys. They were on a string tonight. It's not going to be one guy who stops a dominant interior player. You have to swarm him. You got to come at him from different angles. We saw Tyrese strip the ball from him a couple of times when he had it in the post. They just had a better game plan, yes, but they also just executed and communicated really well tonight as a team, because not only did they force the ball out of his hands, they forced him into tough shots. He was 5 of 13 from the field, and they recovered well. The Pelicans, they shot okay from 3, but the Kings made a lot of runouts at them, especially in that second half. And in the fourth quarter, they really put the clamps down. The Pelicans couldn't buy a bucket. 14-0 run, I believe it was. So they really just they swarmed him, and they helped take the ball out of his hands. But more importantly, they limited the second chance opportunities. Offensive rebounds were big the last time they played the Pelicans. They were really big last night when they played the Jazz. That was the one area, we'll talk about it, but that's where they lost that game, was second chance opportunities. And tonight they were much better.
Yeah, and some good boxing out too.
Yes.
Even by the guards.
Boxing out by the guards. That's a very good point.
Yep. I saw Fox boxing out. I saw Tyrese Haliburton boxing out. When you play small, guards got to do more. They got to do more.
Yes, they do, and you're gonna get matchups that are unfavorable. But we saw 2 people boxing Valanciunas out. I saw Harrison Barnes and Tyrese Haliburton box him out on multiple occasions because they knew they had to rotate over because the big man was out, got switched out onto a perimeter player. So,
yeah, and we talked about these new rules favoring teams being more physical. And I think that's exactly what the Kings have been doing, is being more physical, boxing out, going after rebounds, just getting in the way, making sure people know they're there and they have to feel them. You know, there's no easy baskets in this game. So good things for the Kings. And that equals wins. To everyone that's just joining in right now, welcome to Royal Rebounds TV. This is the live Royal Rebounds podcast. We are post-game. Calvin, Barry, we are talking about the Sacramento Kings' first home win of the season over the New Orleans Pelicans. This win and the one they had against them a few games ago are huge. this is going to come back to help the Kings later in the season if the Pelicans are able to start stacking some wins up and maybe work themselves into that 9, 8, 10 spot. The Kings have a big advantage winning these 2 games.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And more importantly, this is a big one for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, you're coming off of, or you're in the second half of a back-to-back. You had a tough loss the night before, finish a road trip up 500.
Yep.
This is a game that you need to have. No Zion, no Brandon Ingram. And Rashaan Holmes gets ejected in a 2-point game. Could go either way at that point, but they closed out the game, which is something that they've had trouble doing this year. So if the Kings go on a little mini win streak here, or they get like 4 out of the next 5 or 6, something like that, look to this game as the reason for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you get De'Aaron Fox going. You get Tyrese Haliburton going. Home-cooked meals, sleeping in your own bed. It does a lot. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about Ben Simmons. There is some new news about Ben and whether he will be returning to the 76ers. So we'll be right back. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What's up, guys? We're back here. All right, so Ben Simmons, a lot of Sacramento Kings favorite players now. Ben Simmons is still available, apparently, but it's come out that the Sixers have offered him help for his mental issues, and he has refused it. Daryl Morey reached out again to Ben Simmons yesterday, and Ben Simmons said that he is not ready to play mentally, and he's not accepting any of the help that they're offering him. So how do you feel about this situation, and where do you see this thing going?
This situation's a mess. It's been a mess for a while. I don't know who's necessarily more to blame or how it really got to this point. How do I see it playing out? He's not going to play again for Philadelphia. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. No matter how much they talk to him, they try to give him help, mental help, physical help, whatever the case may be. They've already given him plenty of financial help.
Yeah.
Right. So in my opinion, he doesn't play for Philadelphia ever again. So the question becomes, when do they trade him? Do they trade him before the deadline? What are they willing to get back in return? How much of a, decreased level package from what they originally wanted, which we all know was probably too much, but that's how you are a good negotiator, right? You ask for too much and then you slowly whittle it down until you find something you're happy with. How happy are they going to be at this point? That's the question. This has gone on for so long. Now you're adding mental health and the fact that he says he's not ready to play basketball mentally.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make me want to trade for him if I'm another team.
Yep.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. All I can say is that I'm pretty confident he doesn't play for Philadelphia ever again.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, Rashaan Holmes got ejected in the third quarter for throwing his headband. And Progressive G, yes, there will be a play-in tournament this year, so that helps the Kings slots. So back to Ben Simmons. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. We're going to talk about the Jazz game here in a second, but halfway through that Jazz game, De'Aaron Fox was 0 for 8 with 0 points. I was like, oh, man, is this going to continue to go? And De'Aaron Fox is going to end up getting traded for Ben Simmons. Like, he just, for himself, he needs to play a little bit better or just make some shots because the noise is getting louder and louder. I'm glad De'Aaron had a good bounce back game tonight. It helps give a lot of fans hope, especially people like me. But yeah, it's unfortunate about this Ben Simmons thing. I think you're totally right. He's not going to play for Philadelphia anymore. He's going to say whatever it takes to get out of there. It's just going to come down to whether the Sixers and Daryl Morey are willing to accept less and what exactly they are willing to accept.
Yeah.
The longer this goes.
At this point, I don't even know how much, I don't want this to come off the wrong way. Mental health is a very big deal. But I don't even know how much mental issues he's really struggling with at this point. I felt like when he came out and said that initially, that was more of a ploy to say, okay, well, I did what you wanted. I came back to the facility.
Yep.
But now I'm using this as an excuse not to show up to practice and not to play in games.
And I still want to get paid.
And I think I have to agree with that even more when the team offers you mental help and you refused to talk to the doctors, the team doctors. So who knows? Only Ben Simmons knows what's going on in his head.
And Rich Paul.
I hope he's got some people close to him that are trying to keep a level head on him and have him make the right decisions. But yeah, it's not Philadelphia's got to cut their losses. I really believe that.
Yeah, and it's crazy thinking about how much talent Philadelphia had on their team, how many draft picks that they had, and they ended up botching the situation with Markelle Fultz.
Mm-hmm.
They traded up to get him. He had issues. Then they ended up have to cut their losses, get rid of him.
Traded Jimmy Butler after 1 year.
Yeah. Or no, they let him go in free agency, right?
He
signed with the Heat.
He was a free agent?
Yeah.
Wow.
If they have to end up cutting their losses here again with Ben Simmons, that shows that you pretty much got Embiid out of the rebuild process. Embiid and maybe Tobias Harris.
But the craziest part about all that is they're still a good team.
Yeah.
They just beat the Bulls tonight.
Yeah.
They're 6-2 on the year. They're right up there at the top of the Eastern Conference again. Tyrese Maxey's playing well.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Curry has really, really found a nice home for himself there in Philadelphia. So they're still a good team, despite losing all those guys. Jimmy Butler, potentially Ben Simmons. I mean, they pretty much have lost him at this point.
Yep.
But
you need to add something to that team because otherwise guys like Embiid are just going to get frustrated and upset with the GM saying, listen, this guy Ben, he does not want to be here. We know this. Bring me something. Give me something. Him sitting on the bench is not helping the team at all. Not at all. All right, and rant. Let us know how you guys feel about Ben Simmons in the chat. It's a confusing issue, and Calvin and I don't want to take light mental health because that is just so many different possibilities and things, and it's a very tricky subject. So good luck, Ben. All right, let's talk about this Jazz game. We did a pregame podcast. Normally we're postgame. For those of you that caught us pregame before the Jazz game, hope you had fun. It was an early morning one. It was a little bit more exciting during the day, talking about potentials. I got to say I was wrong. I said the Kings were going to blow out this team and win by double digits. I was 1 day off. My bad.
Yeah. Yep.
So how'd you feel about this Jazz game?
It was a frustrating game just because I felt like there were a lot there. The Kings played well in this game, and a lot of individual players had really good games. Harrison Barnes had a really nice bounce back game. He had 23 points again. Rashaan Holmes had another double-double. Mo Harkless had maybe his best offensive game of the year. He had 12 points. Mm-hmm. And Davion Mitchell and Buddy Hield were huge again off the bench. Davion Mitchell had 18 points. He was 7 of 15 from the field. He really contributed in all areas of the game, defensively and offensively. I thought it was a little bit of a coming out party for him. And Buddy shot really, really well. They were in this game again against the Jazz late, and they just didn't execute enough down the stretch. But we said it already, or I said it already on this podcast. They lost this game because they gave up way too many offensive rebounds that resulted in threes for the Jazz. The Jazz only shot 29% from three in that game, but they got enough second opportunities that they hit enough to make the Kings pay. They were destroyed on the boards, minus 21 on the glass, minus 9 on the offensive glass.
Mm-hmm. And the Kings actually had a chance to tie that game late. Yeah. They came back. You know, I remember there was like 7 seconds left. Kings were down 3. Harrison Barnes is driving to the basket with the ball. And I'm like, HB, what are you doing? Like, you need a 3 right now. I understand you want the quick 2.
And that could have been a strategic decision from the coaching staff as well. Yeah. You know, that's a lot of times you do see that coaches will opt for the extend the game as long as possible. 7 seconds is very borderline there, but you do see that pretty frequently. So
Kings lose 119-113. I know we had set our number, or it was set at 120 a game. 119 is pretty close. You and I talked about that number needs to be maybe 115, 113, something like that, 110. This Kings team just can't really put up that much offense. If they're giving up 120 points, they lose 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just too many second chances for the Jazz. I mean, you look at the stats, the team stats from that game. The Kings were had the advantage or were better than the Jazz in just about every category. They had more assists. They forced 17 turnovers again. They shot better. They shot almost 40% from 3. You know, when the Kings shoot that well from 3, I expect them to win most nights. They're a very difficult team to beat if they're hitting from outside. And they gave it away there at the end. And,
you know, the bench played great again.
Bench played great.
Buddy Hield, 19 points. Davion Mitchell, 18 points.
Yep.
You know, I thought that Davion played excellent in that game. Yeah. And I know he played a little bit more later in the game than De'Aaron Fox. He was handling the ball more. And it was interesting because, you know, we saw Fox struggle. He ended up with 13 points in the game, had a bunch of assists, but 0 points at halftime. And I remember watching a half, I was sitting there and I'm like, man, is Davion Mitchell bullying this guy for his starting job? Like De'Aaron Fox is struggling.
Whoa. You sound like some of those crazy Kings fans out there. I don't know.
Don't take this the wrong way. I still got lots of love for De'Aaron Fox, but I'm just sitting there and I'm like, wow, Davion's playing great. He might play himself into this starting lineup. And I don't know, you know, I'm not advocating to bench Fox. I don't think De'Aaron Fox will ever get benched on this Kings team. But he's making a case to maybe he needs to be added in with De'Aaron Fox.
Well, and we saw in that game, they played that 3-yard lineup of Fox, Haliburton, Mitchell with Barnes and Holmes. Yep. So maybe we see that lineup more often.
And Davion's just got – it's the work ethic.
Yeah.
It's the skill. It's the not willing to back down on anybody. I love it, and I just think he's going to continue to push all these other Kings players further and further and further. So I'm really happy. This Kings team is 4-0 right now. 8 games into the season.
We're 4-4.
Or sorry, 4-4.
Yeah.
Sorry, 4-4. 8 games into the season. We're about 10% away, or through the season. 10% through. So how are you feeling about the Kings at this point?
I think you have to be happy with what you've seen so far. I mean, they had a tough schedule to open. They started a lot on the road. They won a lot of those games on the road early. They're 500 right now. The young guys are playing great. Tyrese has gotten better and better every game. Davion Mitchell has been great from the start, but his offense has started to catch up to his defense. We talk a lot about the rotations and maybe why one guy doesn't play one night or another guy doesn't play another night. But the guys that do play, and I'm talking about Alex Len and Tristan Thompson specifically because those two seem to be switching depending on the matchup, who plays. They're always ready to go. They always produce. They always bring energy when they come in the game. So this team is close. You know, they're close to being an actual legit team that can really compete with anybody on any given night. and be, the playoff contender that we all want them and hope them to be. It's just going to come down to limiting turnovers, rebounding, playing defense like we saw tonight for a full 48 minutes where all 5 guys are connected. And they did that for most of the game last night against the Jazz, but we've talked about it before. Fourth quarter execution or late game execution, it was not the best. And when you go up against a backcourt like Mike Conley and Donovan, I almost said Davion, Donovan Mitchell, those guys combined for 66 points in that game.
Yep.
And they hit big shot after big shot after big shot in the fourth quarter. That was the difference. Once the Kings can get to that point where we've got the guys, whether it's De'Aaron Fox or it's Tyrese Haliburton or it's Davion Mitchell or Harrison Barnes, there are options on this team of people who can take and make big shots late in games. Then you're going to see them all of a sudden be a sub-500 team for the majority of the year.
Yeah, and, don't forget the Jazz are a great team.
They
were the best team in the West last year in the regular season. They're a big team. They are a matchup nightmare for this Kings team. And the Kings were in both of these games.
Yeah, they took them to the wire both times.
So that's positive for me. But being 500, 10% of the way through the season makes me happy as a Kings fan. Maybe my bar is not set high enough, but I'm happy with 4-4. And now we're at home. We got a game against Charlotte on Friday.
We'd all like them to be 6-2 or 7-1 or whatever the case may be. But yeah, this is they maybe haven't exceeded expectations, but they're on the right track. They're on the right track.
Yep. I'm seeing a lot of love for Davion Mitchell here in the chat. If you guys are big Davion Mitchell fans, make sure you hit that like button down below. We got 33 people watching, only 17 likes. How many of you guys are Kings fans? Come on, show us. Hit that like button. All right, so I want to talk about an interesting guy. A lot of people might not like him because he last played for the Lakers and was actually drafted by the Lakers. But Marc Gasol, he still hasn't signed with a team. I think he got waived by the last team he was with. And he said he's not going to retire. So, this is probably not reasonable considering he's going to end up with a contender, most likely. But, Calvin, do you think that Marc Gasol could fit on this Kings team? And what do you think he could bring to this team?
I don't like the fit. I love Marc Gasol. He's a great player. He's had a fantastic career. If we were talking about this 3-4 years ago, I would be all in for it. I don't really know, when we last saw him on the court with the Lakers, I'm not sure that was really the right fit for him either. But he did not play well, and to me, he did not look like his former self. I don't know how much he really has left in the tank, and shout out to Tanvir. Want to make sure we get that in real quick.
What's up, Tanvir? What's up, buddy?
But yeah, Marc Gasol, like I said, he's a great player. I have a lot of respect for him. I don't think that he would make much of an impact on this team, though. One, because I think he's in the late twilight stage of his career. And two, because the Kings' rotation for big man is already so small. It's so limited. So if he's on this team, how many minutes a game is he going to get? Yeah. That means you're taking minutes away from Alex Len. You're taking minutes away from Rashaan Holmes even, because you're going to have to work in a third big man. Tristan Thompson, these guys are going to have more and more DNPs. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think he could help them, stretch the floor as a big man, which is always valuable. But I'm not so sure how much he can give him defensively anymore. He can't really cover a lot of ground. And being the one big man in a small lineup, you have to be prepared to constantly be back and forth out at the three-point line in the pick and roll, getting back down into the post quickly to recover and rotate. So that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I don't think Marc Gasol at this stage in his career is able to keep up with this team. You know, the Kings want to run and gun. They want to run up and down the court.
Yeah.
That's just not something he has in his game anymore. He's a great three-point shooter. I love the shooting. I love contesting at the basket. But other than that, I don't think he's quick enough anymore. I don't think he's got the stamina. I think he's going to end up on a contender playing maybe 5-7 minutes a night. Potentially back on the Lakers. Who knows?
It's honestly very similar to a DeMarcus Cousins situation,
Yep.
you know?
And I think it's going to depend on injuries.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about next. We're all feeling great after this win. You know, the Kings are 4-4 at this point. Another great performance tonight. Tonight, I think, was actually one of their best performances so far this season. And you look at this Kings team, they're relatively healthy. You know, we've been hearing some stuff about maybe De'Aaron Fox has had an injury, but nothing on the injury report. Everybody's been available for every game this season except for that one game that Mo Harkless was out. So injuries can derail a season. And we
almost saw it last night.
Yeah.
Some we haven't mentioned yet, but
yeah.
I thought Rashaan Holmes was going to be out for a while.
Yes.
That play did not look good.
And he's come up a couple of times limping this year.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make here is that depth is what we've praised about this team. And there's been all these guys that haven't been able to play, and maybe Coach Walton's holding them to figure out, you know, what we're going to do with these guys if we have injuries. We saw what happened at the end of last season. De'Aaron Fox was on an absolute tear. Then he ends up getting COVID, misses like the last 10 games of the season, hurt their chances. You know, they were still in it, but you got to figure having a guy like De'Aaron Fox.
Well, while he was out, but yes, you're right.
Having a guy like De'Aaron Fox is going to help your team. So I don't think adding a guy like Marc Gasol is going to help this team, but I'm really interested to see how this team will respond when there is an injury. You know, I'm knocking on wood here because I don't want to jinx anybody, but injuries happen. They're a part of basketball. Next man's got to step up. How are you feeling about the depth on this roster, Calvin? And just in case there are any injuries, who do you think will be there to step up?
Well, I already said earlier on this podcast that to me, the Kings' depth is the best attribute about their team. It really is. You know, I wish I could say that it's De'Aaron Fox having an all-star season, career highs all over the place, or even Harrison Barnes playing his way maybe into the all-star conversation. Those are great, and don't get me wrong, they need both of those guys big time in order to be successful. But to me, the bench has been such a huge, huge key for them. They very consistently outscore the opponent's bench by double digits. I mean, it's not even close usually. And part of that is because you have a guy like Buddy Hield who really is used to being a starter or is a starter and plays starters minutes. And when he's on from three, he can be lethal. But the emergence of Davion Mitchell, those two guys together, you know, they've really carried the load for the bench and at times for the whole team this year. So if there is an injury, definitely look to one of those two guys, obviously, to be the first person to fill the hole, unless it's somebody like, knock on wood, Rashaan Holmes, who gets hurt. Then, you know, is it time to play Marvin Bagley? I don't know. I think Alex Len has really had a great start to the season, so he probably, if I had to guess, would be the first man up in an injury situation to a big man, or the guy who's going to get more minutes out of that result. But having a guy like Tristan Thompson, you know, that's, to me, that is a really, really big free agent signing, because this guy doesn't play every night, but he still is going to bring the same type of energy, whether he plays or not. And he is a veteran who has a lot of playoff championship basketball experience, NBA experience. So he can be, he knows the type of mindset that he's going to have to get in if he is called on to have to play a bigger role.
Yep. Still haven't seen Metu yet either.
Yeah.
Metu's there. He played great internationally this year. And then the Kings sent a bunch of guys to Stockton to work on their game with the Stockton Kings. We could potentially see a couple of those guys getting called up. But Luke Walton's playing such a tight rotation right now.
He really is.
It's like you have 5 guys tonight on the roster that didn't even play.
Yeah.
And 3 of those are bigs.
What's your take on Terence Davis, another DMP tonight.
Yeah, the last couple games I saw him out there, he just didn't seem to have that three-point shot down. That seemed what he was out there for, and he was missing wide open threes. So maybe coach has him benched to get his head right. But for me, it basically just shows how well Davion Mitchell's been playing. I think Davion Mitchell took some of his minutes. I mean, 26 minutes tonight for Davion Mitchell, which is huge. I saw someone in the chat mention Rookie of the Year potential. They put him at 7% odds on winning Rookie of the Year. He's looking pretty good to me so far. But, yeah, if there were an injury or something that were to happen, I'd look for Davion or Buddy to step up. I like both of those guys in Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, or at least, they're in contention.
Yeah. I would probably say Buddy Hield's got a better chance to win Sixth Man than Davion does to win Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
I would have to say that.
All right, so I want to talk about the NBA Competition Committee. We have talked about the new ball. We've heard people say that the Wilson ball is less grippy or more grippy, or I don't like it, or I do like it. We talked about on the last podcast that famous Delonte West interview where they changed the ball last time, and it was him and Craig Sager, and he says, "I'll play with a sock. Just give me something. I'll play with it. I'm a what do you say? I'm a player, Craig."
Player, Craig. Players play, man. We're going to play with a sock. We're going to play with a sock.
So we talked about these new rule changes this year that have really impacted guys like James Harden, potentially De'Aaron Fox, not getting these foul calls driving to the basket. There's a new thing that they're debating, and that is a rule change for transition fouls or fouls that are taken on purpose, and whether those could either be transformed into a clear path foul or an intentional foul. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I really dislike watching. It's a great strategy. Whoever is credited with making that, a mainstream thing, props to you, because it really is a good strategy from a defensive standpoint. But as a fan, as somebody who loves to watch basketball, and even from a player's perspective, I hate it. I hate watching it. It's not basketball. It puts it puts a team that plays great defense, either gets a stop or gets a turnover, and then is trying to start early offense or a fast break. It just kills all momentum. It totally ruins the game flow.
Yep. And you don't get to see some highlight dunks.
And you don't get to see LeBron out on the fast break catching an alley-oop. So I love the idea here. I would really like to see the NBA step in and try to take that away from teams, because I don't think that should be something that you can get away with it without being penalized.
Yeah, we have some people talking about trading Marvin Bagley in the chat. Somebody says trade him to OKC for
Lord
a wing.
Lord knows the Kings are trying, or maybe they're not actively trying right now, but they've been trying. So
it says trade him to OKC for a wing. Go for a 3-and-D. I love me some Lou Dort,
Sure.
but I think you'd have to give up
happen.
At least a first-round pick and Marvin Bagley for Lou Dort.
I'd be talking about Oklahoma City. I'd be okay with just getting draft picks back from them. They got 50 million draft picks the next few years. So.
Did you mention to me the other day you saw a trade offer for Paul George to the Kings?
Yeah, I don't know if that was actually like a reported thing or it was just somebody said, hey, what about this idea? But I saw it on Twitter. It was a trade proposed where the Kings would give up Rashaan Holmes, Marvin Bagley, and Buddy Hield to the Clippers, and they'd get Paul George in return.
Wow.
Pretty major deal.
Yeah. Let us know how you all feel about that in the chat. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we are going to talk about Friday's game against the Charlotte Hornets. So let us know how you feel about that trade in the chat and hit that like button. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV. Shout out to all my Kings fans out there. We had an awesome victory tonight over the New Orleans Pelicans, 112-99. The Sacramento Kings are now 4-4 on the season. They are 500, and they won their first home game tonight, which is big news. We saw De'Aaron Fox back on track, one of Tyrese Haliburton's, if not Tyrese Haliburton's, best game of the season. Some drama late in the game. We saw Rashaan Holmes get ejected in the third quarter, but the Kings bench stepped up huge. Some big minutes from Tristan Thompson, Alex Len, Davion Mitchell played great. Buddy Hield played some great defense tonight. Another awesome win for your Sacramento Kings. Let's talk about Friday's game, Calvin. Another home game. Charlotte's coming to town. Everyone's talking about LiAngelo Ball.
LiAngelo?
LiAngelo is with the Hornets now.
Talking about
LaMelo Ball. LiAngelo Ball is he with the G League or he's on their practice squad?
I believe he's G League.
G League. Okay. So we're not talking about LiAngelo Ball tonight.
We're not.
But we're going to talk about LaMelo Ball.
We're going to talk about LaMelo Ball for a long time.
How are you feeling about him? How are you feeling about this game? He's been playing great. We talked about Bridges. He's been playing well also. So
yeah. This is an improved team. They got off to a really hot start. I believe it was 4-1. They've had some tough losses since then. They lost again today in Golden State. So hopefully we can get them, reeling here. But yeah, this is, you used to look down, or for a long time, you would look at the schedule and say, oh, we got the Hornets coming to town. This is going to be an easy game. That's not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
LaMelo has played fantastic. He's definitely not having a sophomore slump or anything like that. He's still not there defensively, but he's so talented offensively. His his court vision is just phenomenal. And fast breaks. This team loves to get out and run. Him and Miles Bridges have a great connection. Gordon Hayward gets lost in the shuffle on this team, but he's still a fantastic scorer in this league. So it's not going to be an easy one. But I think the Kings, there's no reason why they shouldn't win this game. That they can match up with this team pretty well. It's not like the Hornets are a huge team and pose a lot of problems inside. They don't have Cody Zeller anymore, who was the kind of the centerpiece for them for a long time. But it's all going to be about containing LaMelo, and that's easier said than done. I think Harrison Barnes is going to have a big assignment, either him or Mo Harkless. I look for them to take the majority of the minutes guarding Miles Bridges. Mm-hmm. Never thought I'd have to say that you put one of your best defenders on Miles Bridges. I thought he was just a run and gun, throw it up, lob type guy, but he's hitting threes now with
32 points tonight.
Has had 4 or 5, I think 4 30-point games already this season.
Yep.
So he's a legit player now, a two-way player also. You have to worry about him defensively as well. Not going to be easy, but if the Kings can put together another complete game like they did tonight, offensively, defensively, and they get that bench scoring again, this should be another win.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting game. I love the matchup on this game. As you mentioned, they are not a big team.
Yeah.
Mason Plumlee's at the center, so it's going to be him and Rashaan Holmes facing off. And then you basically have Gordon Hayward, who's been playing decent this year, over 20 points a game, but he's not a big guy. Miles Bridges has been playing out of his mind. Yeah. And then you have Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, you can't forget about Scary Terry.
No more Malik Monk. PJ Washington is now coming off the bench. I really like Terry Rozier a lot. I loved him with the Celtics. I love the whole Scary Terry thing, but he's a pretty small guy. I feel like Tyrese Haliburton is going to have his way with Terry Rozier.
I was actually just going to ask you where you felt like the matchups were going to be defensively in this game, because the Kings can really play this a lot of different ways, I think. Mm-hmm. Who's going to guard LaMelo? In my opinion, I would put Mo Harkless on him and have Harrison Barnes guard Bridges.
Okay.
I'd be really interested to see who Davion Mitchell guards in this game. Terry Rozier makes the most sense to me. But I would be really curious to see if they try to put him on LaMelo at all, because LaMelo, his greatest strength is his passing, his vision. Mm-hmm. And for a guy, he's got long arms, and he's a big guy for a point guard, 6'7", I believe. So that might actually work against the Kings, trying to put Davion Mitchell on him, because he's just going to see over the top of him, and Davion's not affecting those passes because he's just got too much length. So I'm curious to hear what you think about defensively there.
Honestly, I would put De'Aaron Fox on LaMelo Ball. I think De'Aaron Fox has got the quickness. He's got the speed to keep up with him. And then offensively, I'd probably have Tyrese handling the ball most of the time, and I'd try and get him switching, have Scary Terry on him. I think he's got a huge advantage against that. I'm going to look to have Rashaan Holmes hitting that little floater, run the two-man game with him and Tyrese, because if you can get Scary Terry on Tyrese and then you switch him on to Holmes, Holmes is going to be money all day long. But for me, defensively, other than De'Aaron Fox guarding LaMelo, I think it's going to be a lot of switching. I think that this team is – there's not one guy you really need to worry about. Yes, we talked about LaMelo Ball passes the ball. He's been good at scoring recently. Miles Bridges has had some great games. But I don't see like there's one guy on the Hornets that's going to beat you. So I think the Kings are going to play some really good team defense. I think they need to switch a lot. And I think they just need to make it hard on them and jump the passing lanes. Don't let them pass the ball. And you got to win the turnover battle.
No, I agree with that assessment completely. That's what they did tonight. That's going to get them – that's going to create the most success for them every night. It's a team effort for sure. Defensively, they're going to switch a lot. Offensively, I think they got to attack LaMelo. I'm looking to put him in pick and roll or get him switched on to, if he's not guarding De'Aaron Fox, I'm running pick and roll, trying to get him switched on to De'Aaron. Or if he's guarding Tyrese Haliburton, I'm attacking him all game long, because that to me is a weak point. LaMelo is a phenomenal player, but defensively he's far behind what he is offensively.
You got to get him in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Let's see here. Ryan says, let's talk about these new horrible trash city jerseys. Ryan, we talked about them a little pregame.
Let's start a petition right here, right now, to get rid of Sacktown forever on the Kings jerseys.
Calvin does not like the Sacktown at all. What's wrong with Sacktown?
I don't know, man. It just doesn't sound right.
You think
Where
they're
are you
just
from? I'm from Sacktown.
You think they're just like, oh, Sack is too short and Sacramento is too long.
Even worse.
So we're just gonna do Sacktown.
Just Sack on there is even worse than Sacktown.
It's better than Cream City.
I just wanted to say Kings, or I don't know. Sacramento is so long. The color scheme's great though. I love the color scheme on the new jerseys.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to do a like hybrid throwback jersey that says Royals on it, or Sacramento Royals, or something like that.
How'd you like what the coaching staff was wearing tonight? Those long sleeve with the old school red and blue logo.
Yeah,
I thought they were pretty clean.
Yeah,
Kyle Draper even referenced them during the game, saying he's got to cop one.
Yeah. I thought those were great. It's funny. It's really funny. Kings need to do a better job on these jerseys. They really do. They really do. I saw someone comment, they said, it seems like all the city edition jerseys are awesome, and then the Kings guys like did the least work possible on theirs. I don't know who's designing them, but
yeah, I think it's kind of more of an NBA thing altogether than it is a Sacramento thing. The NBA is the one that released all these jerseys, these city editions.
Derek says Davion would do well against LaMelo. I think we're the better team.
It's early. In my opinion, these teams are pretty close right now. With how good Miles Bridges has been playing, that really takes Charlotte to another level.
Yep.
You know, if he's the same Miles Bridges as last year, even if LaMelo Ball's averaging, 28 points and 11 assists a game or something like that, they're still not a playoff team. He needs somebody else. And Gordon Hayward's a great all-around player. He's a lot like Harrison Barnes, actually. Mm-hmm. Really good at a lot of things, maybe not phenomenal in multiple areas, but just a really solid guy that you can always count on. But Miles Bridges, his improvement, it just drastically changes this team.
Yeah, I agree. But I do think the Kings have a higher potential.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said earlier.
The roster top to bottom favors Sacramento for sure.
Like I said earlier, I think this is a great matchup for the Kings. And I honestly don't feel like we have seen the best Kings team this year. We've had some moments where one or two guys or three guys has played well. Tonight was the best outing we had, where we had multiple guys step up. But even with tonight's play, you could say De'Aaron Fox, we want more out of him. We think he could play a little bit better. We didn't get a full Rashaan Holmes tonight. We could get 20 points out of Rashaan Holmes. We still have some improvement to do. Only 11 points out of Buddy Hield tonight. So I got to think that one of these nights we are going to see this entire Kings team step up and be firing on all cylinders. Why not against Charlotte on Friday night? It's a home game. They match up really well. They just had a big win tonight. They just finished up this long road trip. So I like the Kings odds on Friday night. I think Kings beat Charlotte. I'm going to say 115-107.
I like that prediction.
I want to remind you all, Friday we are releasing episode 3 of season 2 of the Royal Report. It's a Sacramento Kings sports talk show. It's kind of ESPN style. We have the categories on the side. Calvin and I break down everything Kings. It's usually about 30 minutes or so. If you don't have time to watch every single Kings game, the Royal Report is an awesome condensed version to experience a whole week of Kings action in just about 30 minutes. We do podcasts almost after every single game, but these podcasts are a little long. Some people don't have time to listen to the entire podcast. So, Royal Report, Fridays, make sure you guys check it out. It's a condensed version, easy to watch, lots of fun.
A lot less ranting.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you are a Kings fan. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you'd like to join the Royal family. We will catch you all Friday after the Kings smash the Charlotte Hornets. We'll see you all in the next one. In the meantime, go Kings.
Shout out Tanvir.
Thanks, guys.